Welcome to our Finding Markets presentation. My name is Lindsay Pasho. I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension's Harvest Near team as an ag business development marketing specialist. I also own my own farm called Adirondack View Lavender. And I'm presenting along with my colleague, Precious. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Precious Chabalala. I'm the food systems specialist with Cornell Cooperative Extension, Harvest, New York. So I will start off by refreshing our memory on the 4 Ps of marketing. So in the 4 Ps of marketing, we have price, product, promotion, and place. Price involves setting the right pricing strategy for your products. And a couple of things to consider when pricing is the cost of your product, the existing market or competition, the value of your product, your business goals, the market segment as well. So when pricing, you should remember that it's not solely about covering costs, but it's also about capturing the perceived value of your products in the eyes of the consumers. So you should consistently monitor and adapt your pricing strategy based on market dynamics and consumer behavior. The product refers to much more than just the physical produce. It encompasses various aspects that are critical to successful marketing, such as quality, variety and differentiation, packaging and branding, value addition, etc. It's not just about the physical item, but the entire package, the story, the experience that consumers associate with it. Showcasing the effort, care, and uniqueness of your product can significantly influence consumer decisions. Promotion, it involves the strategies and tactics that are used to communicate the value of your products to the target audience. So identifying a new target audience and retaining an old one. For it to be effective, it should be about building relationships, the relationships that you have that are existing, and the new relationships with your new target audience. So this also encompasses educating consumers and creating a positive image for your product. The last piece of the 4 Ps is the place, which refers to the strategic distribution and availability of agricultural products to the target market. Ultimately, the place is about ensuring that your products are available where your target consumers expect to find them. It involves strategic planning, logistics, and understanding consumer behavior to optimize distribution and maximizing price. Now let's move on to the pros and cons of different markets. So in choosing the right market, there are various factors that you need to consider, including the nature of your product, the farm's capacity, and the goals of the farmers. Different markets have their own sets of advantages and disadvantages. For example, if you're looking at local or regional markets, it could be your local grocery store, farm to school, or a restaurant, or in some cases, it could be a farmer's market. The pros of these types of markets is that they are in close proximity, which allows for reduced transportation costs and it lowers environmental impact. You're also able to build strong community ties, and your local community can support you as a farmer. However, the cons with these types of markets is that you have a smaller market size, which may limit your revenue potential. And also there's intense competition with other local farmers for a limited consumer base. If we look at direct to consumer sales markets, such as UPeak, farmers markets also, or even a farm stand, the pros of this is that you have higher profit margin. You're eliminating your middlemen, leading to a higher profit to yourself. You're also having to build direct relationships with your consumers, fostering loyalty. And you're also able to control your own brand and product presentation. On the flip side, the con is that it can be time consuming. I've met a couple of farmers who've said they no longer go to farmers markets because of lack of labor. So those are some logistics that you have to consider when choosing your market. It's also hard to scale up in such cases. You need proper infrastructure to scale up. Now, looking at other markets, online markets like selling directly from your website or through CSAs, the pro of this is that you have a wider reach. A lot of consumers you're able to access a broader consumer base beyond geographic limitations. There's also convenience that comes with online sales, and you're able to access data and market insights so as to analyze and make informed decisions. However, on the flip side, there are logistical issues. You have to have efficient packaging and reliable delivery services. Some farmers may have technological barriers, so you need to adapt to online platforms. There's also intense competition with other online vendors. And then the other type of market that you could consider is wholesale distribution, which enables you to reach a larger market and distribute in bulk, and you're able to diversify. In this case, they handle the distribution logistics on your behalf. So all you have to do is to just focus on production. However, the downside of these types of markets is that prices may be negotiated down by your distributors. So it means that your revenue is now reduced, and there is a lot of quality control, and it means you're also dependent on your distributor's decision and the market conditions as well. The last type of market is collaborations or partnerships, for example, cooperatives. The pros of this type of market is that you have access to a new customer base through collaborating with other farmers. You have shared resources and shared costs with other partners, and you are able to benefit from any innovation or joint product development that may arise from that partnership. The cons with this are the coordination challenges. It requires effective communication and coordination amongst partners. And there may be dependency. Sometimes there's variance in quality of the produce that comes from other farmers within that partnership. And there's potential conflict that may arise as a result of working with other people. So often a combination of these markets can provide a more balanced approach, helping farmers to maximize their opportunities while managing associated challenges. You can combine, let's say, UPIC with online sales, or CSAs with farmers markets, where your CSA subscribers can pick up at the farmers market, and some consumers can buy directly from you at the farmers market. Now let's move to the moving target. So as I mentioned, each market type has its pros and cons depending on the type of market it is. So it is important to understand the requirements and limitations of each channel. It's also important to understand the average volume of product to enter each different marketing. For example, if you're planning to do wholesale, you have to have high volume, but you need to expect a low price in return. And if you're selling to wholesale, likely there has to be a specific quality of product that they expect. Unlike in the direct-to-consumer market, as I mentioned in the first presentation, that direct-to-consumer markets are more accepting when it comes to ugly products, which is not the case with wholesale markets. And let's move to the target market. So when it comes to your target market, you need to define who your target market is to effectively promote and sell your products. The target market is characterized by various factors that are related to both consumers and other businesses that are involved in the food or agricultural supply chain. So you need to consider who will buy my product. Why will they buy my product? What will they pay for my product? And where do they expect to find my product? Like, am I selling to schools? Am I selling to direct to consumers? Am I selling to the mothers? Or who exactly is my target market? Now let's move to product development. So when it comes to product development, you should determine what you are going to market, which involves understanding the specific needs of your consumers. So this should encompass creating or refining your products that align with the needs of your target market. You should also understand who your target market is and what their preferences or priorities are. Like, is your target market concerned about convenience? Like, what is your product? Are you, let's say, selling butternut squash? Does your target market want to buy butternut squash as a whole, or do they prefer chopped up, minimally processed product? And what is the best method to package or for presenting my product? Are you selling herbs, and is your target market finicky about the type of packaging that the herbs come in? Do they mind it being in plastics, or do they want it to be in small bottles to look fancy, to look nice? And what need or niche does your product fill? Like, is there, if you're selling, let's say, the herbs, like, is it like healthy herbs? Like, what is exactly the niche that your product is filling? Like, does it need shelving space? Is the product stable? Is it perishable? Does it need refrigeration? And when it comes to packaging, for the target market that I have, what are they looking? Do they want an appealing package, or are they okay with anything? And branding, is the type of brand important for the target market? So those are the things that you should consider when you're looking at, you should prioritize when you're looking at what you're going to market. Yeah.
So in the next couple slides, I'm going to kind of cover some things that I've seen in the past with helping farmers trying to find markets. I'm located up in northern New York, so I've helped farmers try to find markets all the way down to like New York City and across the state. And there's, I think, a lot of considerations in order to prepare yourself to find these different markets. So I always like to mention it's not going to happen overnight when you're finding your market. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of research, especially figuring out what your capacity is going to be for your business. So if you're just starting out, I always advise people start small and slowly grow over time, especially looking at what's your short-term goals, midterm goals, and long-term goals for your operation. So here would be like an example. If you just starting out growing, I'm going to use cut flowers as an example. So you're going to start growing cut flowers and you're not really sure how much you're going to be able to do for capacity in the, the first couple of years. So that's why I'm saying start small. So maybe just plan to sell roadside, maybe at a farmer's market or two. And then start to build like what your goals might be in the long run. You might want to end up, in a couple of years being able to wholesale to a couple different florist shops in the area. Long term, you might want to be doing floor shops, your farm, weddings. Just have goals that you're going to be able to obtain. Your goals are always going to change for your operation. A lot of the time when it comes down to finding markets, especially if you're going to be wholesaling your product, it's going to take more than one interaction with a company. I've been told, as a rule, sometimes it takes about 10 interactions with a place to determine, to be able to get into that market. People forget about people trying to come in and sell their products. So they need like a reminder. And you're not technically bugging them until they tell you to stop, leave me alone. So think about asking, doing quite a bit of follow-up if you're trying to sell your product, out into the public. Have a market lined up for a product before producing. This is when I'm talking about the short-term, midterm, and long-term goals, is having a place that's reasonable to sell your product. Over the years, I've had a lot of people come to me, they want to start bottling milk because they're not happy with the price that they're getting for milk at the co-op. So they always come and say, so how do I get into Tops? How do I get into Price Chopper? Well, Tops and Price Chopper aren't going to jump onto your product until you have a developed product. So that's why it's important to, determine and find reasonable markets and build your product up to get a name for your product. So please make sure you have a market lined up before developing a product. Customer certifications in food safety. So it's really important to know the market you're going into, what type of certifications that they require, and also the certifications and / food safety requirements. And when you're first starting out, so you're a vegetable grower and you're planning to sell at the farmers market, some CSAs, you're not going to need all those specific certifications in order to get into that market. But if you're thinking down the road of selling into, like example again, Price Chopper, Wegmans, Tops, any of these different larger wholesale markets, it's a good idea to, when you're, like I mentioned before, short-term, midterm, long-term goals of where you're going to market your product, is say that selling into one of those bigger wholesales is a midterm or a long-term goal. You can, set yourself up to get those certifications ahead of time instead of, example, like say this year, you're ready for a Price Chopper or Wegmans or Tops, but you haven't done any certifications, lined yourself up. So it's good to go seek these certifications and requirements before you actually need them. So definitely look into what you're going to need for future markets ahead of time. Getting ready to sell your product. So this is really important when you're thinking about, potentially selling either retail or wholesale for your business, and figure out what's going to work the best, especially when it comes down to taking orders and what type of ordering platforms that are out there and what's going to work. Over the years, I've seen, individuals that sell vegetables across New York State, they might end up having their own platform that they, can take orders from, or they might actually be uploading what they have for product to another potential wholesaler that they're selling into. So it's important to figure out what's going to really work for your operation. I've seen the situation of people text messaging back and forth on orders. Not probably like the most professional way to do things, but it might end up working for where you need to sell. So it's important just to dig into what's really going to work. If you're going to be selling your product, either retail or wholesale, it's really important to have a price list in which you see as the owner of the operation, but then the prices that your wholesale and retail are, and also suggested retail. So it's important to, when you figure out your price list, and I had this for my operation, I know exactly how much it cost me to produce that product. And then I have a wholesale list for my products and a suggested retail price for those wholesale operations. It doesn't mean that they have to follow my suggested retail price, but they could, they have something to basically go on based on, especially since I sell retail, what I'm selling in retail pricing. And it's important to kind of line up that if you're going to be selling wholesale, retail, and is making sure things lined up so that people aren't buying your product, you know, in your area across the state, and they see that the pricing is different when it comes down to it. So getting kind of more of a consistent price across the line is like an ideal situation for an operation. Product descriptions. So it's really important to have detailed product descriptions for retail, for your consumers to know what they're buying, how to use that product, how much quantity is in that product, and all the, like if you're going to do a value added product, such as, you know, I have pictures of like a homemade soap, all the different ingredients, because those are requirements when selling products. You know, and then you're also going to want to have that same description for wholesale. When I've gone down to like New York City to try to find markets for producers across the state, this is what they're looking for. They're really looking for that pricing list and that product description. And that shows a level of professionalism that you have all that stuff together. It's really important. I'm getting in on the professionalism side, is making sure you have a product that has a nice looking appearance, your business appearance, and that includes like your website, your social media, that it's very professional, because people are going to be looking at your operation, what you're doing. And then your personal experience is how you present yourself when you're going to meet with your retail, so your consumers that come to your farm stand, visiting you at the farmer's market, and also for wholesale too, is what you look like. You don't want to look like you just rolled out of bed or just got out of the barn mucking stalls. You really want to make sure yourself that you're well groomed, because people, you know, are going to see what you look like, and make a determination if they're going to buy products from you based on sometimes even what appearance. My brother does that when he goes to the farmer's market. He looks at every single vendor and makes determinations based on appearance. Samples. So if you're going to be especially selling wholesale, and this is what I've seen when it comes down to, you know, like vegetables or herbs that you might be bringing, is you want to, if you're going to go visit a restaurant and try to push your product, you're going to want to have enough product for people to take and use those samples to make product into their dishes. So it's important to have, you know, a good amount of a product available for your potential customer to be able to use. And then also samples are really important too on the retail side, so people get an idea of what that watermelon might be taste like, or those strawberries, or those different value added products of the soap or the lotions or lip balm. You just try like a little, like making stuff into little sample size to kind of entice people to purchase your products. The last thing I'm just going to mention is we had our last presentation was on developing a marketing plan. So it's really important to create a marketing plan when you're trying to market your product, so that you have a strategic document that focuses on what resources are available. It is part of your business plan. And a marketing plan really helps you to target your market. It also can be used for investors and banks. And then I'm now going to open this up to some questions.